Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joe Pisapia, and today you've been asking for it, and of course, we're going to give it to you. We're going to give you the SUPERFLEX mock draft, the first one of the 2025 season. People have been begging for this. I get all these messages, when are you going to do the SUPERFLEX? I said, just be patient. We've got one recording with some of my favorite people. Pat Fitzmaurice, my patty cakes, The Undertaker, Andrew Erickson, from The Athletic, Jake Ciely. No fun nicknames, but he does have a fun shirt on today. Anything South Park / Mario Luigi oriented, I am a big supporter of. So today, we've got a half-point PPR mock draft for you. I'll be drafting from the one spot because it's just a lot easier for me to host and do that. Also, we have, Jake is going to be all the way at number 5. We've got Erickson at the 109 pick, and pulling up the double duty down at the back end of the draft, Pat Fitzmaurice. So we've got some fun team names too. You can have the team name generator, Andrew Erickson. I know that's a fun thing. Did you use the generator or did you come up with your own team name today?
I used the generator. I am not nearly creative enough. I used to try to come up with a bunch of really unique names, but now that we have this thing on Fantasy Pros, this great tool, I don't have to think about it anymore. I just plug in my favorite player on my team, Drake May, and then it pops out the top 10 best fantasy football team names, and that's how I landed on. It's going to be May, even though it's June. It's always May. You draft Drake May in June.
All right, Fitzy, I like your team name, Fitz Nicely. That just is a good general just note, I think. So, again, I assume that you just created your own today?
I did. Well, I had like 5 seconds before we started, so I couldn't think of a clever player name pun, Joe.
Well, that's okay.
Fun on my own name.
The man of 1,000 toys, opening up a KMB somewhere near you. Toys R Us Ciely. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I kind of like that. You're playing off the misspelling of the word ninja, for those of you who weren't smart enough to figure that out.
Couldn't figure that out. Yeah, well, no, first I want to go back to Andrew. And if you're going to take that team name, you can't do it and not go, it's gotta be May. Like, you have to do it.
Yeah, you kind of have to do that, Andrew.
You just can't just
especially because he looks like a boy band guy. So, Erickson, give us one time.
Yes.
It's gonna be May.
Very good. Okay, there you go.
That's better.
My team name from the one spot, I created this one on my own. Diggs says, don't take it all, which is good advice from Stefon Diggs whenever you're on a boat. So we are going to go through here. We've got a flex, we've got a super flex, and we're going to kick things off. I have the number 1 pick. I am starting with Lamar Jackson. He is my number 1 QB on the board. I have a theory here. I'm going to try to see if I can make it work when it comes back to me at the 2-3 turn. Josh Allen goes second at the 102, then Joe Burrow 103, Jaden Daniels to 104. Interesting. I thought Daniels would have gone 3. Burrow looking for a huge season potentially here. And as you can see, we're using our draft software. Go out there right now, download Draft Wizard, start getting ready for your mock drafts. All right, 105, you are on the clock, Ciely. What are you doing?
Yeah, I was actually expecting to have to make the decision between Joe Burrow and the first non-quarterback player. So the fact that Burrow went 3, as you mentioned, I'm just gonna take Jalen Hurts. Tush Push didn't get banned. I'm all for Jalen Hurts. To go back to your previous comment, though, I would actually go Jackson. I'll go Daniels at 2, just because of the rushing upside. Like, we're chasing rushing in fantasy, so that's why Hurts at 5. That's why I picked the 5 spot too, because I figured if one quarterback didn't end up going in the top 5, I easily would have got one of the top 4, and then it ended up not being a running back or wide receiver that made that for me. It was actually the fact that Joe Burrow went, so it worked out perfectly.
See, if you've got the opportunity to pick your own draft spot this year in Superflex, 105 seems to be the perfect spot. Thanks, Jake Ciely. Also, make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel, because Jake and I have a little Superflex short coming out, too, about some strategies. He and I are the Superflex guys around these parts, so make sure you subscribe to the channel, ring the bell to close ding.
Multi-time flex winner, Joe Pisapia.
That's right. Multi-time Expert League 2-time champion and 1-time tie champion. So
he's got 2.5.
2.5. But I'm
Thanks,
sharing
COVID.
it with thanks, COVID. Sharing it with Adam Ronis, which is pretty fine. I'll do that. Jamar Chase goes the first position player off the board at 106. That certainly works for me. Baker Mayfield goes at 107. Patrick Mahomes at 108. So Erickson, it's half PPR. You going to pivot away from the QBs the way the board looks right now?
Yes, I am. I feel like I'm reaching a little bit here if I go with a quarterback where I think that we've gotten away from the elite tier. So I just took the number 1 running back and the guy who I think could lead all fantasy guys in terms of points scored, Bijan Robinson. So that's my guy. That's
a pretty easy selection there at 109. Kyler Murray at 110, 111 Bo Nix. So Fitz, when you're drafting at the turn of the Superflex, you're going to obviously miss out on the elite quarterbacks. The question is, do you dip your toes into the quarterback well, or do you just try to hope that you can patch it together with a couple QB2s? Because the incredible value that makes it down to you could put together two of the best players in football. And it looks like that is the strategy you are going for with double tapping wide receiver, Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb here with your first two picks.
Yeah, I'm going to walk the second path you mentioned, Joe, the S2 quarterbacks at the turn. Just like if there was value there, I'd be willing to do it. I might have been willing to grab Patrick Mahomes there, maybe Baker Mayfield or Bo Nix, but probably not. I mean, just like this is the opportunity to get two top level non-quarterbacks. And so I'm going to double tap receiver with Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb right here.
All right, not bad. So before we get to Erickson, two more quarterbacks did go off the board. So Jared Goff goes, Dak Prescott went as well. So now Team 11 and Team 10 both have their quarterbacks. And why you want to use the draft software is because, again, it's going to give you all those insights, let you know the teams behind you, what they have. The pick predictor is going to let you know the probability of a player who's going to get drafted or not, potentially, before it makes it back to you. That's why you use the tools. Again, pick predictor is one of the great ones. I use it. Sync your leagues for free. I'm telling you, this is the way to go for all of your drafts. If you've never used the software before, do it. I remember the first time I used it blew my mind, and I actually worked here for almost a year before I really was like, all right, let me use it in this draft that I've got there, and it made a huge impact, and I've never gone back since. So again, let's continue on. Erickson, you also have said nay to the quarterback in Superflex, so I feel like you and Fitzy are going to be mud wrestling for QBs when we get to the third and fourth round. Where'd you go for your second pick?
I took my second ranked running back, Jahmyr Gibbs. So Fitzy went with the double receiver approach. I went with the double running back approach. We both have top three at the position. So hopefully we can make up ground later in the draft with some values at quarterback. I do wish that this was full PPR, not half PPR. I'm going to be punting quarterback. So I don't love this strategy necessarily, but we'll see if I can maybe scoop up some quarterback value a little bit later on. We'll see how the draft goes. That's why we do these drafts, to practice different strategies.
That's right. Look, you wish for a lot of things. It's not going to make it true. I wish I had more hair. I don't. So these are things we have to live with in life. Saquon Barkley goes next at 205. Then Herbert at 206. Justin Fields goes next. Jake, you're on the clock for your next pick, so we'll talk about your next selection here, which is Caleb Williams at the 208. So, Jake, you've gone back-to-back QB, so you're not playing around here.
Mostly because I ended up getting my second quarterback being top 10. I do have Caleb Williams as QB 10. Some people will differ on that, but I was able to get two, and the way that the board was falling and knowing I had about 10 picks, I had 10 picks before I came back around, and knowing likely that Brock Purdy or one of the others that were left over in that tier with Caleb Williams were probably coming off the board. That's why I went in that direction, to just kind of lock it in and now kind of have the advantage at quarterback over everybody else, in my opinion.
Well, one can only hope that eventually Drake May will find his way to his team namesake and Andrew Erickson soon. After Caleb Williams goes, Ashton Genty at 209. Then the wide receiver run, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then the end of the second round, Brian Thomas to me, and then I turned around and took Derrick Henry. Now, this is a strategy I employed last year in Superflex Flex League, which is the expert league Jake Ciely runs with the best and brightest minds in fantasy football, and Derek Brown is also in that league.
And you.
No, I'm a champion in that league. Just multi-time champion. Let's just put that out there. But this is the half-point PPR Superflex strategy of controlling all the scoring in offense. And this is an elite offensive ecosystem. If you want to understand the ecosystem, go get a black book. Just available right now on Amazon. You can check it out. Erickson, me, Debro, all of us writing for that bad boy. But I've got Lamar Jackson. I've got Derrick Henry. I'm basically controlling all the touchdown equity in that offense on a weekly basis, and now I have a wide receiver one. So that's the approach I'm taking. I love the way this worked out last year, and that's how I'm going back there again. A.J. Brown, 302, then Malik Neighbors at 303, Brock Purdy at 304, and then, of course, the next one, you've got Nico Collins at 305. So, Jake, back-to-back quarterbacks for you to start, and then Nico Collins. How do you feel about this build?
I like it. I would have preferred Malik Neighbors if he would have made it two picks to me. And then, of course, I like your strategy of the running backs. But at this point, you know this as much as anybody. In Superflex, that's the one position. You know how much I love taking running backs. It's the one position in Superflex where I'm willing to wait more, because those are the ones that seem, of all the positions, to fall the furthest when you're Superflex, because that position's tied up. Now with a quarterback, running backs seem to be the ones that it's like, oh, wow, I can't believe he's still there in round 5, 6, 7. And I find that's where the value is, though I do love your start of being able to control the touchdowns on the Ravens offense.
Yeah, and look, this is why I also took Lamar, because I thought Derrick Henry would be making it back to me, and I love that pairing. When you start looking for James Cook, it could be anywhere. I think that ADP of Henry, like, after it gets to the third round, it's really tough to see him lasting more than 303 or 304 in any draft. So after Nico, Christian McCaffrey finally off the board at 306. Interesting build there. Jamar, Fields, and McCaffrey. I love how early Fields went. This must be the Derek Brown bot we're drafting with today. Devon Achane at 307. Trevor Lawrence at 308. And Erickson, you did it, baby. How does it feel to have Drake May at 309?
Feels great, because I knew that he wasn't going to get past Fitz, so that's why I had to take Drake May. So I know that I got the little of a notification that said 71% chance that he was going to be available, but I know better, because I know Fitz. I know that he also loves Drake May, so I could not let him slide past, so I had to get my first quarterback with Drake May, who fits my team perfectly.
Brock Bowers goes next at 310, and then 311 Drake London. All right, Fitzy, you broke down. You did take a quarterback and another wide receiver. My God, what a wide receiver room you're building. Jefferson, Lamb, and McConkey. And then you have Jordan Love. So let's talk about the love-hate relationship you have with Jordan here as your quarterback of the Packers and now a quarterback on your Superflex team.
Slightly disappointing 2024 season for Jordan Love. He had the sprained MCL that cost him time early in the season. And then the Packers were just really run heavy after Love came back. I mean, for the whole season, I believe the Packers were the third run heaviest team in the league. But part of that was just the paucity of wide receivers they had. I mean, like Christian Watson now going to be out for the season. Wasn't having a good year. Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Doubs, those guys were not having great years either. So they went out and drafted Matthew Golden in the first round, got Savion Williams later on, who's a really intriguing, physically gifted player. So hopefully this is a boom year and the Packers aren't quite as run heavy as they were in 2024.
All right. So we'll see. Hopefully a little more throwing for the Packers this season.
And I absolutely would have taken Drake May. But
let the record show Pat Fitzmaurice would have taken Drake May. Bucky Irving goes next at 402, then Josh Jacobs at 403. Look at you. Everything's coming up Millhouse for Andrew Erickson in this draft. CJ Stroud, last year drafted as a QB1, now being drafted as a QB2. So May, Stroud, Gibbs, and Bijan. Very nice here, Andrew Erickson. I like what you've done with the place.
Yeah, that was CJ Stroud is one of my quarterback sleepers this year because he's going so late in drafts that he can be kind of qualified as a sleeper compared to last year. And I think that the Texans I think their offensive line is going to be much better, even though the personnel is completely different. I think that the new coaching staff coming in, I think it's just going to help fix a lot of the problems. I think you're going to see CJ Stroud just rip it with some of these receivers, Nico with the new rookies. I'm really excited. I think that he's going to be a value.
All right, so looking for value all over the place. CJ Stroud off the board. Jonathan Taylor goes next. Trey McBride, then James Cook. So Cook lasted all the way to the middle of the fourth round. All right, let's get to Jake's selection here. Oh, look at you. Another namesake selection. Jackson Smith-Njigba. Now, did you do that just to stay on brand, or do you really like the player at that value? Be honest. Don't lie to me.
Well, both, honestly.
Okay.
The tie break was the fact that I'll let you talk about you took the running back that I wanted to take there. I wanted to get that for that option. I still believe that is a top 10 running back. But because of the namesake, tiebreaker, I'll go with Jackson Smith-Njigba. I do think is a top 11, 12 wide receiver. I don't think much is going to change that with Sam Darnold, although I could see Cooper Kupp having a rebound season, maybe if he stays healthy. But I still think Smith-Njigba is ascending and potentially could even that conversation for Nico Collins, Malik Neighbors tier of the world where he's top 5, 6. I think that's in play.
I would agree. Volume certainly is not going to be a problem. The offensive line, however, that could be an issue. So we'll see
just how
things. Yeah, well, if Sam Darnold isn't upright, it's kind of hard to throw the football. But certainly volume will be abundant for JSN this year. T. Higgins, the Robin to the Batman of Jamar Chase, goes at 409. Then Chase Brown, all the Bengals going here. Matthew Stafford made it to 411. Almost to me, I probably would have taken Stafford over the guy I took, which is J.J. McCarthy. I believe, call me crazy. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in J.J. McCarthy. I believe in things. And I just look at this upside here. I know he missed a year of football. I know that's problematic. But I think what you saw from Kevin O'Connell, what he got out of Sam Darnold last year, talking about blood from a stone, I'm very optimistic about what J.J. McCarthy's rookie season is going to be, especially with the pieces around him. And then, because it's half PPR, I decided to control once again, get some more touches. And I don't know if there's anybody been more consistent than Kyren Williams. We keep waiting for something to go haywire there, but I don't see competition for him. I really don't. And Kyren Williams, to me, is still the guy. Let's take a quick break in the action here as we are letting everyone assess their rosters and remind you that it's NBA Finals time. That's right, except for all of you Knicks fans. Sorry about that. Ooh. It's your last shot to win some real cash before the season ends, and the simplest way to get in on that action, well, it's downloading the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for two or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. No gimmicks, no weird rules, just ball. So don't miss on your last shot to win some cash this NBA season. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use that promo code FANTASYPROS. That's code FANTASYPROS. New customers get $5 when you bet $50 in bonus picks instantly. Ride the upside only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Let's continue on and pick some more players here for our upcoming Superflex draft here. So after Kyren Williams goes off the board, Breece Hall at 502. I was going back and forth. I decided to take the running back in the better ecosystem, which is the Rams. I like where the Jets' direction is going, but I'm a little bit more comfortable with the Rams. It sounds simplistic, Jake, but just the notion of, when you're between a couple of players, taking the guy in the better offensive universe, doesn't that seem like just the thing that we overlook constantly, trying to be the smartest folks in the room sometimes, where it's, hey, take the player on the good team, stupid.
Well, if also you're going to be talking fantasy pros, and the late, great Mike Tagliere wrote the article about that, about how hard it is to find a top 5 running back in a bottom 5 offense, let alone top 10. Point. So, yeah, you're right. Anytime you go down this road of saying, like, hey, I'm trying to figure out the toss-up, one of the tie breaks has to be, who's the better offense? Who's going to be a top 10 offense? And that's the answer. It's the simplistic, very simple answer.
Simple's good. Tyreek Hill, 503, followed by Garrett Wilson at 504. The guy that I was going to take, possibly, Jake, of course, took, which is Terry McLaurin at 505. That's a tremendous value as your third wide receiver, Jake.
Yeah, that's really why I took it. I hate the fact that I don't have a running back yet, but I just talked earlier that that's the one position I could see falling and having some value. Like, I'm looking at some of the names right now, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to have a clear top 10 RB1, but I'll be able to have two guys that fill in. When Terry McLaurin's my number 3 wide receiver, I can live with it. Not to mention the fact I already got the leg up with the top 10 2 quarterbacks. So I think I'm in a good position here.
Well, I think it now becomes our mission to make sure we take as many running backs away from you as we can. Correct, Andrew? Fitz, are you on board with this? I certainly hope so. All right, let's go on with the guys' picks here, see where we're at. Devontae Adams goes next at 506. Mike Evans at 507. Cortland Sutton, big wide receiver run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 7 being Andrew Erickson's selection of Marvin Harrison Jr. at 509. So, my goodness, all the wide receivers are gone. And I'm wishing that maybe I had taken another wide receiver there and waited on running backs like Jake. But now I'm going to have to scramble a little bit. Erickson, let's talk about Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, I think that he's a logical second-year wide receiver breakout. Not everybody breaks out in their first year. It's okay. And when he was in a class with such elite talents like the Neighbors, like Brian Thomas, like Ladd McConkey, it makes his rookie year, I think, seem even that much worse. But in comparison to normal rookie seasons, I think that it was okay for Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that if him and Kyler can build off what worked in year one and then go away from what didn't work in year one, if Marvin Harrison Jr. can just break some tackles, I mean, he's all rocked up now. He's got the Superflex biceps going. Maybe
sure
break
does.
a couple more tackles. And I think that's going to do well. I think that it's it's pointing up for him in year 2. So I like getting him here.
Talk about Superflex. Jeez, yeah. DK Metcalf goes 5'10", and then DJ Moore 5'11". Fitzy, let's talk about your 2 picks. You went RB and QB.
Yeah, needed to address running back. I'd kicked that can down the road for a while. So went with Joe Mixon, who just seems to produce whatever the circumstances. Bad offensive line in Houston last year, still produced when healthy. So went with him and then needed to get a second quarterback. Went with Tua Tagovailoa, the guy who did lead the league in passing yardage in 2023. If he's healthier, maybe things look a little different for him this year than they did in 2024.
All right. Continuing on here, after those selections have been made, let's go to the next part of the draft board. Now we are officially in round 6 with Fitzy's selection. So Ken Walker at 602, Rashee Rice at 603. You went tight end next here, Andrew Erickson. Let's talk about George Kittle at this spot. How do you feel?
I couldn't pass up on George Kittle here. It's half PPR. We know he can put up monster weeks with the touchdown upside that he has. In terms of points per game, nobody was better than him in half PPR at tight end than George Kittle was last year. So getting him so many rounds after McBride, after Brock Bowers, I need a wide receiver really badly on this team, but I just couldn't pass on George Kittle in the half PPR where, I mean, I think that he could, again, be the highest scoring player at the position in points per game.
Okay, next up, Zay Flowers, Devonta Smith, Bryce Young, and then we land on Jake Ciely for 608, which is Alvin Kamara. Jake, I'll pause the draft for, you made your pick. What a professional. You know, they say things about you, Jake, and most of them are correct. But the fact that you can't multitask, that is wrong. So Alvin Kamara, 608, you made that selection here. He is your first RB. Probably the worst potential offense in the NFL. I think we'd agree on that. Yes. But probably also the only weapon that you can count on in that offense. So although there's limitations, once again, this is more of a volume play here with Alvin Kamara.
And it's not like the offense was that great last year, and Alvin Kamara was still top 12 in fantasy points per game. So, like, Alvin Kamara, until he, I know he missed some games, and we're getting to that point of, what does he have left? But until he completely falls to the wayside, we're talking about Devin Neal and Kendra Miller behind him. It's not like he's got world beaters there, they're going to take the touches from him, similar to your argument with Kyron Williams. And I actually think Kyron Williams, I agree with you on Williams. I'm just saying I think Kyron has more of a threat behind him than Alvin Kamara does. Nobody's taking Alvin Kamara's jobs or touches. Job, singular. But I just think that, this is what I was talking about before. We're in rounds 5, 6, and Kamara is my first running back. I don't love him being my first running back, but the fact that he's round 6 with 3 massive wide receivers and 2 great quarterbacks, I'll do this all day long.
Okay. All day, son. All day, in the words of Schmidt from New Girl. Let's go on. Ted McMillan goes at 609. Great. I love Schmidt. Schmidt is amazing. 6'10", 6'11" after Richardson goes, Chuba Hubbard at 6'11". Then I doubled up on wide receiver because, that run was just unbelievable. 10 of the 12 picks in that round? No, 9 of the 12
9
picks
in the 12.
in round 5.
But 701 is amazing value. That's insane.
What, for Godwin?
For you, yes.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, he's coming off an injury, so that's why I'm getting the value there. But Worthy and Godwin, I'll take it and see how it goes. It's not my ideal situation. I can tell you that right now. But just sometimes these runs happen. You got to pivot off of it. When you look after Chris Godwin, Sam Laporta at 702, Amari Hampton at 703, Pacheco at 704. Here we go. We're in the running back room now, and Jake Ciely is walking out with James Conner at 705.
I am taking the age and work of running backs and saying I'm going to stare you dead in the face and probably drive off the bridge as I finish the Fast and the Furious series. I don't know what's going to happen at this point. But look, James Conner also, while healthy, every time he's been on the field, I mean, we're still talking top 10 production. Do I probably need to worry about a third running back upcoming between the two of them? Yes, because I'm going to lose one, if not both at some point. But James Conner and Alvin Kamara, while on the field, I know I'll be getting fringe, at least RB1 production. But it's round 7, so I'm okay with it.
But it's round 7, so that's fine. Also, that brings us to today's Chasing Challengers segment, brought to you by Microsoft. So for those of you who are looking ahead, who are pushing the boundaries of what's possible in business, decision makers today are turning challenges into opportunities, and Microsoft meets you where you are with tools and guidance to help you make an impact with safe, secure AI solutions. So whatever challenges you're facing, Microsoft empowers you with the expertise to say, bring it on. And in this segment, we're going to spotlight the challenges faced by trying to draft the aging running backs. Now, last year, if you dipped your toes in that pool, especially in the high-end guys, it was pretty good. Got guys like Derrick Henry, guys like Saquon Barkley, a few guys even stood the test of time that have been around the league for a while. Josh Jacobs with a fantastic season. But everyone's another year older, and guys like James Conner and Alvin Kamara are too. So as Jake Ciely in this draft is going to keep his fingers crossed and light a candle in church and hope that everybody stays healthy in 2025. And luckily, the good news is the solution is probably to get some of these young RBs from this draft class who are very good to at least hedge your bets. Maybe they won't be starters in week 1 or month 1, but by the end of the season, you hope the Amari Hamptons of the world and guys like Caleb Johnson can all get out there and start to make their impact in fantasy, because this class was extraordinary for RB, and we haven't had a really solid one like this in quite some time. So let's make sure that you get some pieces of that rookie running back class. That's it for this week's Chasing Challengers. Remember, Microsoft's AI solutions empower you to take bold steps and new ideas to help drive your business forward. With Microsoft as your trusted partner, you can navigate your journey with confidence, finding innovative solutions and reaching new possibilities. Visit Microsoft.com/challengers to learn more. All right, let's get back into the draft, gentlemen, and let's see where we are at after Connor. David Montgomery, pretty good value there, 706.5 PPR. George Pickens at 707, then Jameson Williams at 708. Erickson, you had a lot of Microsoft read to think about your pick, so let's go. Who are you selecting here with your next pick at 709?
I think I spent more time trying to figure out how to get back at Team 8 because I wanted to draft Jameson Williams because my team really needs wide receiver bodies. I'm going to have to go out there if I can't fill my wide receiver three spot very quickly here. But I'm not going to draft a receiver here. I am actually going to draft another running back because, like you said in the segment, we got a lot of talented rookie running backs. And one of the things that I have to make sure I do in every draft this year is I got to get at least some exposure to some of these rookie running backs because these guys win leagues in the second half of the season. So I'm going to go with a Derek Brown favorite, Mr. RJ Harvey.
Oh, there you go. RJ Harvey, 709. Travis Hunter goes right after another rookie back-to-back there. Calvin Ridley at 711, which brings us to Pat Fitzmaurice for the last pick in the 7th and the first pick of the 8th round. Fitzy, what do you have on tap for us?
I would have loved RJ Harvey. That would have been my choice. But so I'm going to take a different rookie running back on the turn here with Caleb Johnson. And the more I think about it, the more excited I am about his outlook. Just Pittsburgh is going to be a running team, whether it's Aaron Rodgers or someone else at quarterback. I think they are incentivized to be run heavy. They've got a defense that's going to keep them in run-friendly game scripts. And look, Jaylen Warren is pretty good in a limited role. Gets hurt a lot, though, and we know, I think, that Caleb Johnson is going to have the majority of the early down work for Pittsburgh. So going to take him, and then I'm going to take Travis Kelce, who, I know he's not vintage Travis Kelce, but he did have 97 catches last year, even sitting out the final game of the season. So while I'm not expecting him to be the overall tight end 1, I am expecting him to be a top 10 tight end again, if not top 5.
Does your Caleb Johnson love change one way or another if the quarterback becomes, let's say, Aaron Rodgers in the next, I don't know, month or so?
I mean, I think I'll like it more if it's Aaron Rodgers. The only thing that might be a downer for Caleb Johnson if Rodgers comes aboard is that Rodgers does like to throw when he's inside the 5-yard line. Might take a few touchdowns away, but I think it bodes well overall for the Pittsburgh offense if he does sign.
That's a really good point. All right, let's continue on here after Johnson, Tony Pollard, Quinshon Judkins, and then Erickson. Sometimes, you just keep going down to the well, and there's one well that Erickson loves to go down. It's the Jalen Waddle one. So last year, tried to buy back in. Did not work out. He ended up as wide receiver 46. Why will 2025 be different? 2 great seasons from Waddle, 2 less than great seasons. So what does 2025 look like to you?
It looks more like his first 2 years in the NFL than his last 2 years in the NFL. I think that Waddle has shown, at least at the end of last year when he was a little bit healthier, he did show out in the last couple games. Tua, we'll see what his health looks like. But I don't know. I guess I'm more down on Tyreek Hill being the alpha of this passing game and Waddle potentially stepping out. I don't think that Waddle has lost his talent. He's a first-round pick for a reason. He's shown that he can produce at the NFL level in different ways, whether it's through volume as a rookie, whether it's through absurd efficiency as he did his second season. So I'm just not willing to bury a guy who I believe is like 26 years old, who's been an all-pro wide receiver. So I like buying the dip here on Jalen Waddle, especially because my team needs wide receivers.
All right, Mike Q just got absolutely obliterated in this round, so I'm gonna have to figure out something here. And I can't believe it.
Did you not see my face when my pick came up? I was like, man, I have trying to choose 4 players.
Well, unfortunately, it was right after. Well, you picked one of them, and then the rest went haywire. Aaron Jones 805, Ramondre at 806, Brandon Ayuk then at 807. Ciely, you took Mark Andrews at 808, which I thought, leak at wide receiver. Why not just take all the Ravens? And that way I'll have all of the guys. Maybe I'll take Likely with my last pick just to irritate you. But 808, seriously, as bad as Mark Andrews was in the first half, is as much of a touchdown machine as he was in the second.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, there's going to be more Likely or Hopkins, possession wide receiver, and been talked up, whatever. Like, I still think that you just mentioned, as bad as it was, only 600 some odd yards. I kind of looked at it, the 3 that I was really struggling between was taking Trey Henderson Olave, who I think is just getting forgotten, and I know that Shuck is probably, or Shu, who wants to go by Shuck, is the quarterback this year, but I don't think it's going to be that bad where Olave still can't be at least a wide receiver 3 or 4 at this point. But yeah, I want to kind of see, we're doing a mock, and maybe I would have done things differently if this was in New York with you doing the flex, but I wanted to see what this looked like if I secured that tight end position, because again, the super flex you go back to, your flex is tied up. You don't have as much flexibility because of the fact that a lot of these guys would have ended up on my bench already.
And if you want to do a mock, just like Jake Ciely is right now, fantasypros.com/draftwizard, that's where you can go, get familiar with the tools. Don't forget to sync all your leagues for free and use the draft simulator. It's the best way to make sure all your picks are as good as they possibly can be. It's going to help you improve exponentially in all of your drafting. So use the tools. Don't be a tool. Mark Andrews goes at 808. Cam Scatterbo goes next. I was looking at Cam and Travion Henderson. I wanted to get one of them, and they went back to back. Cam Scatterbo at 809. I can only assume Team 4 is a Scott Bogman robot. Chris Olave at 811. So I decided to continue to build out the wide receiver room with a bunch of guys that can contribute. Jordan Addison, Jerry Jeudy. As long as I can keep Joe Flacco playing quarterback for the Browns, I'll take my chances with Jerry Jeudy. There's going to be some picks in there for Flacco. We know that, but Jeudy, Addison is my wide receivers 4 and 5. I think I can live with that. Tyrone Tracy goes next. This is the first draft we've done where Cam went above Tyrone. So the worm might be turning a little bit in early ADP already. Cooper Kupp at 903. Team 4 selects DeAndre Swift. Then back to you, you teenage mutant ninja and Jigba. You selected Sam Darnold, your third QB, the first team to take a third quarterback. Why now, Jake?
Because I leaned into it and the fact of my advantage, and hey, hint, hint, watch the other show that you and I are going to do together talking about Superflex strategy. But also the fact that I'm trying not to, one of the things I'll bring up is buys. I didn't want to double down on my buy for my third quarterback, and the options that were left, there was very few that didn't overlap the buy of the Eagles or the Bears. And so the fact that Sam Darnold, like we all want to say that can't happen again. The offensive line is going to ruin him because he sees ghosts when the offensive line doesn't work. But what if he's even QB 16? And I only get him for possibly 2 weeks, but I'm just maintaining that advantage I have over everybody else.
All right. So certainly a smart path there. Najee Harris goes at 906. I was thinking about Najee because I know it's going to sour everybody, but old man Harbaugh is going to play the veteran as long as the wheels stay on. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. He's going to piss a lot of smart fantasy people off. It's just, including me. It's going to piss us off, but they signed him for a reason, and Hampton will play, but Najee Harris is healthy. He's going to play a lot. Next, you have Brian Robinson, Tank Bigsby, and then you took Rome Odunze. Next, Andrew Erickson at 909. Let's discuss it.
Yeah, guys, Rome wasn't built in a day. So give him year 2 to figure things out. And I think you're going to see a big jump from him. Entering year 2, we see a lot. Again, I'm betting on, so because I punted receiver, I invested more capital in quarterbacks and running backs. I'm trying to bank on some of these year 2, year 3 breakouts, right? The guys that didn't fire in year 1, because we still see a lot of breakouts in years 1 and 2. I just released an article on the site identifying the next wide receiver 1. And a lot of those guys are year 2 and year 3 players. It's actually not rookies that are the ones that break out the most. It's actually a lot of year 2 and year 3 players. So taking multiple shots and hoping that 1 or 2 of these guys can become a staple in my lineup to then pair with the elite running backs and quarterbacks I drafted earlier on.
All right, so Erickson makes the case there for Rome Odunze. Let's continue on. Jaden Reed and then Jacoby Myers. Fitzy, you're on the clock for 2 picks. What are you doing?
I needed a backup wide receiver, even though my first 3 are pretty good. I think Ricky Pearsall he's my favorite of the 49ers receivers for this year, and I have him as a top 40 option at the position. I thought about Stephon Diggs, but honestly, I'm a little unnerved by the whole boat thing. And I don't think it would be out of the question for the Patriots to release him, because their commitment to him in terms of guaranteed money is not that deep. Like, it would not be totally unquestionable that they release him. So Pearsall it is. And then look, my second quarterback right now is Tua. I need a third quarterback, and I love Michael Penix. So happy to take him. And after kind of waiting on quarterback, I figured I needed a third. I'll go with the sensational arm talent of young Michael Penix. Well, not that young. He came into the league kind of old.
Oh, jeez.
He's old. He's older than. He's younger than Tyler Shuck, though, right?
Well, you're younger than
yeah,
Tyler
pretty
Shuck.
By a year. By a year.
All right. So Penix goes out next. I saw he was the last prospect born in the 90s, and that made me depressed.
Representing.
Wow.
90s baby.
Yeah, there you go. 90s babies. Go get your Pokemon cards. All right, Khalil Shakir at 10:02.
I wish I could
Jalen Moore.
Joe, where can I find them? Please explain to me. Where can you get these? I can't find them anywhere.
You had them and you lost them? That's a whole other podcast.
No, right. you can't find them anywhere. The ones that you want to try and buy. My stepson his wife is super into them.
There you go. What a weird phrase. My stepson's wife is super into them. I had to like control my brain for a second.
Do you need to see the family chart tree?
I could use a visual aid. It's kind of like the bloodline family tree. That would really be helpful to me, Jay. After Khalil Shakir at 10:02, Jalen Warren. We've gone off the rails. Juwan Jennings at 10:04. So let's discuss your selection here, Andrew Erickson of Juwan Jennings. I know you're on the clock. I'll pause the draft for you because I have that sort of power.
Yeah, I'm looking for some wide receiver help with maybe some more immediate production. We know that Brandon Ayuk is probably going to be delayed in his return. So even if the Jennings experience is limited to the first month of the year, we know that he has a lot of chemistry with Brock Purdy and maybe it fizzles out as Ricky Pearsall gets more invested in year 2, as Ayuk comes back from his injury. But looking at immediate production, I really feel good about week 1 comes around. I feel good about starting Juwan Jennings, whereas some of these other receivers, I might need to wait a little bit. How does the Bears receiver room shake out? Can I start Odunze week 1? I'm not so sure. I feel confident about Jennings. So I think he fits my specific roster build for what I'm looking for in a wide receiver.
Okay. Let's take a quick break to remind everybody, as you are watching today, make sure you drop your comments below, the picks you like, maybe even the picks you don't. Who do you think won the draft? All of that can get you some free stuff. So all you have to do to win our latest giveaway, a signed George Pickens Steelers jersey. That's right. He doesn't need it anymore. It's done. We're going to be giving this bad boy away. So again, George Pickens Steelers jersey is going to be the next giveaway we have here at Fantasy Pros. So make sure you get in on that. Drop your comments below. And this one's from pristineauction.com. And this is a great time of year. Father's Day is around the corner. You're looking to get something for yourself, for dad, for the man in your life. What a great opportunity. Jake's complicated family, he's got to get multiple Father's Day presents. Pristine Auction is definitely the way to go. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, drop your comments below, and the next giveaway could be yours, which is, of course, the George Pickens jersey. And speaking of giveaways, it's a new month, which means the Nico Collins jersey has been given away too. We're going to give that away to Josh Egley. That's right, Josh Egley. You are the big winner. Get in touch with us at our customer support at mailbag@fantasypros.com. That's mailbag@fantasypros.com. Hit us up with your mailing address, proof of your subscription to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel, and we'll get that shipped out to you right away. So Josh Egley, you're the big winner of the Nico Collins jersey. We're giving away so many free things. Let's give away some more.
And then Josh, email me so I can trade you my Kyler Murray jersey for your Nico Collins jersey. We'll do a swap.
There you go. You guys can take pictures holding them up together in the jersey swap. Yeah. It's so adorable. Stephon Diggs goes at 10:05, and I agree with Fitzy's commentary, just for the record. I think I would go under 0.5 games from Stephon Diggs as a Patriot. I'm just going, I'll go taking the under. It's just, there's plenty of summer left for him to get in trouble. Josh Downs at 10:06 and Javonte Williams at 10:07. Jake, you went running back here. Travis Etienne at 10:08.
Yeah, and this has nothing to do with even Cohen today, talking about that all these rumors have been false. I don't even believe him 100% that all the rumors were false. I just believe that Etienne isn't necessarily dead as a potential lead for this backfield, even if it comes down to volume, and the volume is only 240 touches. This guy was just a top 5 running back 2 years ago. Again, it was volume like Joe Mixon's volume, but we're talking about Tootin having fumble issues already, and I'm not saying that he can't be the best running back. It's just at this point where I'm going to take a dice roll on somebody who could even be an RB2 at this value. I'm going to take the chance that Etienne still has something left, and maybe something left is on a new team.
Maybe it is, and it could be sooner than later, too. Rico Dowdle at 10:09, Trey Benson at 10:10, Zach Charbonnet at 10:11, then TJ Hawkinson to me, again, trying to control some offense, and I also took Jordan Mason because Aaron Jones is one of the older running backs I'm worried about, and Mason was really good last year. Now, it was in the system of the San Francisco 49ers, so you take that with a grain of salt, but I was impressed with how he handled the workload. You don't see a lot of guys getting 20 carries in a game, and he was able to do that for the first few months of the season and really kind of show you that, hey, I can get up to that 15-20 touch threshold on a weekly basis and be very productive. And I think, again, that Minnesota offense is going to be much better than people realize, much to the chagrin of Pat Fitzmaurice. Michael Pittman at 1102. Evan Ingram, great value at 1103. Love this pick there. Jonnu Smith at 1104. Debo Samuel. I almost took Debo. I was going back and forth. So you got Debo and Terry McLaurin. Now, would you do that in real life?
I would, and then I would try to figure things out later. I can't pass a top 40 wide receiver this late. That's the thing. It's just staring at me on the board. I wanted to go elsewhere. I wanted a different wide receiver. I was thinking running back again. But Debo here at 11:05 was just, this is one of those ones where I'll figure out a trade. I'll figure out something later. I got weeks before. They're week 12 bye. Things will figure out by the time I need to worry about it.
There you go. Take talent. That's what the draft is for. It's a good reminder as well. We got a lot of good reminders, boy. David Njoku at 11:06, and then Rashad White goes next at 11:07. Tucker Kraft 11:08. Erickson, another wide receiver, another round for you. Keon Coleman at 11:09. So last year, Keon Coleman, when you look at the productivity, just 29 catches for 556. So what does year 2 look like for Keon?
Hopefully much better. Hopefully it looks like the first 9 weeks of his season and not the last when he came back from the wrist injury. I don't think that there's enough considered with that, where he was pretty productive before his injury. And he was starting to build momentum, and then they even talked about it in the offseason right after the Bills season ended, where the coaches felt that Keon Coleman really couldn't build on that momentum coming back from injury, and they were doing the Amari Cooper experiment, so they didn't really get a chance to make Keon Coleman the focal point. But the thing that he does that I love about projecting him as like a year 2 breakout is because he gobbles up high-value targets. He can make plays after the catch. He makes plays downfield, and Josh Allen trusts him in the red zone. We saw that on display when he was healthy in the start of the year. Allen would go to him in the red zone. So if James Cook's not scoring those 19 touchdowns again, well, where are they going to go? Maybe to Keon Coleman. So, again, ecosystem. I want a Buffalo Bills wide receiver, so that's why I went with Keon Coleman.
Okay, so getting involved with Buffalo. After Keon goes, Tajay Spear goes. We'll see how Spears does, maybe a little healthier season for him in 2025. Maybe he eats into that Pollard workload more. Dallas Goedert at 11:11. And then Fitzy went RB here, double tapping Jaden Blue of the Dallas Cowboys and then Austin Eckler of the Washington Commanders. All right, Fitzy, let's talk about Jaden Blue and Eckler.
To this point, I only had Joe Mixon and Caleb Johnson at running back, so I felt like I needed to bolster that position a little bit. Jaden Blue, I'm not as in love with him as some other people might be as a prospect, but like his opportunity in Dallas is pretty undeniable. I do think it's probably going to be some sort of Javonte Sanders Blue mishmash early in the season, but like Blue is obviously the fastest, most explosive guy they have and the natural candidate to be their third down back. And then speaking of third down backs, Austin Eckler's played that role pretty well for a while. I realize we're not talking about vintage Austin Eckler anymore, but I love him in that offense. Washington suddenly has one of the more potent offenses in the league, and on a per game basis, Eckler was still pretty good last year. So I don't know. I feel okay getting him this late.
Okay. Let's continue on here after these selections from Fitz. You got J.K. Dobbins at 12:12, Christian Kirk at 12:03, and then you went QB here, Erickson, with Geno Smith at 12:04. So that is your third QB and a starter. Not a bad guy for the bye weeks.
In round 12, to get a starter for 17 weeks in an offense with Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, Ashton Genty, Chip Kelly, up pace, up tempo. Geno Smith doesn't even have to start for me, and I think he's a value here. I just think it was way too good to pass on a quarterback in Superflex that, depending on how I feel, maybe Stephon Diggs isn't ready. Maybe I don't feel great about starting Drake May in week 1. I can start Geno Smith. You know who's playing the Patriots? The Raiders. That Raiders-Patriots matchup. So Geno Smith could theoretically be in my starting lineup in week 1, and I'm getting him in the 12th round.
All right, Darnell Mooney at 12:05, Luther Burden, Rashid Shaheed, and then you took right from under me, Bashal Tutin. So for all of that bluff and bluster about, I don't think Travis Etienne is done. I think he's still great. Who knows how good he can be? You took Tutin anyway. You liar. You liar.
And I would say to everybody out there, this isn't a bad strategy. I would giving the perception of this team, I would actually flip those picks, but this is coming down to knowing we had 8 robot teams. and I knew the draft order, and I was risking. That's why I celebrated while he was talking about Jaden Blue. It's like I knew there was a chance Tootin could make it back to me if I went ETN first. It wouldn't have happened the other way around, given we were drafting against bots. But I don't think it's bad strategy at this point when you went wide receiver heavy, when you have the quarterbacks I do, to take flyers and both being on the same team. Maybe it is Tootin, maybe it is ETN. Maybe, again, I go back to ETN being on a different team. I think Tootin has the higher upside, but that's why I'm willing to take both. And at this point, it's a worthy risk. And what? They're going to be my third running back anyway, so I think it's worthy of taking that gamble.
All right. I agree, by the way, for the record. You flip that ADP for sure. Jalen McMillan at 1209, Kareem Hunt at 1210, Isaac Garendo, cagey pick there at 1211. I like Garendo this year late. I took my third quarterback in Cam Ward at 1212, so I'm very happy with that. A lot of youth and an experience, perhaps at my QB2-ish position between him and McCarthy. Hopefully Cam Ward can at least, I believe in the mindset of Cam Ward. I don't love the environment, but I think he's a really serious kid, and I think he's going to put the work in. And I think that sometimes
you should have taken Shuck for the veteran presence.
If I wanted to do that, I could have just taken Russell Wilson. Instead, I also at 1301 took Emeka Egbuka. Why? Because they already have Godwin, and also it made it easier with Jalen McMillan off the board already. So if I'm worried about the age of Mike Evans and the health of course, returning Chris Godwin, then Emeka Egbuka might be a nice investment in the 13th round. Keenan Allen goes next, then Russell Wilson, Matthew Golden, and then back to you for your next selection, which is another wide receiver, a rookie, Kyle Williams of the Patriots, Jake.
Yeah, I thought the fact of what we've been talking about with Stephon Diggs being a potential issue, and even if not, it's not going to be 100% by week one. It's going to take some time. We're looking for the answer of why everybody loves Drake May, including, of course, Fitz. Well, who could potentially step in and be their number one wide receiver and be that alpha outside wide receiver too, and what Kyle Williams brings. There's a lot of options on these teams, but there's a lot of options for 2s and 3s. And even if Stephon Diggs was healthy, I do think there's a world where Williams is still the number one. So I'm taking the chance. If everybody loves Drake May for the breakout and he needed weapons, Kyle Williams should not be here on the board this late.
All right, I'll let you make your next pick. I'll pause it for you, give you a second.
Oh, you didn't even need to. Got it in with 5 seconds to go because I'm a professional.
Oh, well, again, jury's out. Kyle Williams goes, then Tyler Shuck, Nick Chubb at 1307. One of my favorite sleepers, team 8, is clearly the Joe Pisapia bot. Kyle Monangai from the Bears. I'm telling you, keep an eye on him. He's going to be their David Montgomery. Telling you right now, that's what Ben Johnson's going to do with him. Just watch. Ray Davis, Jerome Ford, Dylan Sampson. So, Erickson, you took Ray Davis here with your selection at 1309. Again, just investing in the Bills, right?
Investing in the Bills. I like taking shots at running backs that are injury away. And James Cook, look, he's coming off a massive touchdown season, but he's also wants a new contract. So does that linger? Does he hold out? We saw the holdouts last year. Did not play out well for them midseason, except for Jamar Chase. Basically, he was the only one that had a pseudo holdout and ended up playing well up to the contract versus all the other guys that seemed to do really disappoint or get injured. So, yeah, I think Ray Davis at least showed out when he had opportunities last year. And, yeah, I think that he could step in and be a 1A in that backfield if Cook misses time.
Jerome Ford goes, then Dylan Sampson, as I said. Fitzy, your last 2 selections, Marvin Mims and then Roshan Johnson. So, curiosity, Fitzy, I want you to talk about both these guys, but answer this question first. If Monangai, was there at the end, would you have taken him over Roshan?
I've been torn on this because Monangai is a favorite of mine. Like, the odds are just so stacked against him as being this late round guy, small, not especially fast, really no pass catching background in college. Like the prospect profile is bad, but I loved Monangai. Watching him as I'm a Big Ten guy, and like this guy runs so hard and is such a warrior. He comes from Rutgers, and he kind of reminds, like, his style is a lot like Isaiah Pacheco's, and he could be this year's Isaiah Pacheco,
who was also, for the record, a late pick. Not a lot of equity in him. Didn't come from an SEC.
You guys know who the Bears running back coach is, right? You know it's Eric.
I don't know, but I'm sure
it's Eric Bieniemy. The guy who was the Chiefs coach when Isaiah Pacheco took over as a 7th round pick.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, it's not out of the question.
Charlie Day for the win once again.
If I'm still putting down, like, I still think Roshan is the slightly better percentage play to be that Montgomery guy for Ben Johnson in Chicago. So, yeah, he was one of my last picks. And Then I took Marvin Mims, who I believe had 6 touchdowns for the Broncos in their final 7 games of the season, averaged like 62 yards, and he did all that despite never playing even half the offensive snaps in any of those games. And maybe he just continues to be that sort of bit player for Sean Payton. But man, if Payton expands this guy's role, I'm excited to think of what things could look like for Marvin Mims. And like he's got some headwinds now. Evan Ingram is there. They drafted Pat Bryant, but man, Mims is still like, I think he might be the most explosive guy on their roster on offense, other than maybe RJ Harvey.
Colston Loveland goes next, then Jackson Dart, followed by Erickson's last pick of Will Shipley. Obviously just hedging the Saquon Barkley bet there. Aaron Rodgers, remember him? 1405, so we'll see how long that holds. Marquise Hollywood Brown, and then Adam Thielen goes. Another nice last-round selection there. Thielen, again, very productive against all odds. Then a very cagey pick by a very cagey man. Jake Ciely selects Tyler Algier. Anything happens to Bijan, Erickson will be on the phone trying to pry him away, and Jake will rake him over the coals in a trade. Amari Cooper goes next, Rashad Bateman, Joe Flacco, and I have the last selection of this draft, which has 2 of my favorite wide receiver rookie class guys in there. Jack Besh is in there. Trey Harris is in there. There's a part of me that wants to also maybe take Cedric Tillman as well. But again, do I want
I had my trigger on Browns? Jack Besh, by the way.
I'm shocked that you didn't take him. I'll be honest with you. Like, I get the Algier pick. I understand that, but I thought for sure Besh would be your guy. And now, just to spite you, I'm going to go ahead and make that selection. Well, honestly, he was between 3 people, and now just for fun, I'm going to do it because that's what it's about. And would you look at that? Somebody got an A+ on today's draft. It's me, Joey P. 97 out of 100. And I did several reads, sold you some stuff. What else can be done? And it looks like Diggs says don't take it all is good advice and good luck because I am number 1. Jake Ciely's number 2. It's going to be May finishes 4th, and Fitzy top 5. Nothing to be concerned. Fitzy, do you think that automatically out of the gate in Superflex you're at a disadvantage being down at the turn?
Yeah, I picked this spot because I really wanted to see how it was going to play out there and what I would be able to do at quarterback. Would there be anything for me at that 1-2 turn, or would I just wait? Decided to wait and, hammer the wide receiver position, and really happy with how the receiver position wound up. And I'm not totally disappointed with the quarterback position either. To be able to wait and, come away with Jordan Love, who I think has plausible upside if he can kind of get back to where he was at the end of the 2023 season. Tua and Michael Penix Jr. I'm not disappointed with that, and I've got a fantastic wide receiver room, and I don't totally hate my running backs.
There you go. Don't totally hate your running backs. If that's not a ringing endorsement, I don't know what is. I love Caleb Johnson. I'm with you on that. I think that's a slam dunk. The great thing is when you're done with these drafts, you get all the insights here from the tools on Draft Wizard. Again, download Draft Wizard app, use the draft simulator, go to fantasypros.com/draftwizard today. I got sleeper pick alerts on JJ McCarthy and Jack Besh, number 2 wide receiver in the consensus sleeper rankings, by the way, just putting that out there. It said also I got a steal with Cam Ward in the 12th. I agree. Yes, I'm going to be hurting in a certain bye week or 2, but that's okay. I'd rather go win every other week. And it looks like Derek Brown from Fantasy Pros actually liked my draft more than anybody else. Derek Brown liked it. Rob Wozniak, one of the great folks over in terms of the expert league that we play in. Rob's a multi-time winner of that same league we were just talking about, so that's very cool. Jake Ciely, who liked and hated your draft?
Oh, out of the experts? I was too busy looking at the entire thing, baffled by the fact that Caleb Williams was seen as the 6th best Superflex option. I will put money on the table right now that the Dak, CJ Stroud, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Brock Purdy, 4 out of those 5 are behind Caleb Williams for this year. So
4 out of 5. Wow, look at you. That is confidence.
I got a big thumbs up from David Kluge, Ryan Weiss, Jacob.
I believe it's Kluge. I believe.
Is it Kluge?
It is Kluge.
Yes.
I never knew that. That shows how much I've actually.
Rhymes with Loogie. Never forget.
Here's the thing. No. This is not a thing for like the flex leagues, but this is why I did the flex leagues, because we never see each other in person and talk to each other in person. Like, this is why I wanted to do it. Dalton Del Don, I have issues with, and we're going to have to talk about that. And when I see this person and flex, hint, by the way, Debro's got some main issues that we need to talk about because he's the one who hated my draft the most.
Wow, interesting. You finished second. He liked my draft the most, and he hated yours. So basically,
Big thumbs down from Debro on Caleb Williams, Jackson Smith, and Jigba and Mark Andrews somehow.
Well, I disagree with him on the Andrews front there, too. Well, let's run through your roster here since you were number 2 to my number 1. Jalen Hurts, Alvin Kamara, James Conner, Nico Collins, JSN, Terry McLaurin, Mark Andrews, Deebo Samuel, Superflex QB, Caleb Williams, and then the bench, Darnold, ATN, Kyle Williams, Algier, and Tootin. Like, I think this is a really solid roster. The wide receivers are terrific. The age at running back, I think you'd agree, Jake. That's the question mark that would linger on this roster.
Yeah, 100%. And would this be a typical draft if things fell a little bit differently? Probably not. I would have leaned into running back earlier, but the way that the draft fell, I talked about it earlier, and it'll be part of the show that you and I talk about strategy while drafting, especially in Superflex, is I took what I thought was the best Superflex potential combination of Jalen Hurts and Caleb Williams at quarterback. And then because my number 3 wide receiver can contend with anybody's in half the league's wide receiver 2s, I'm willing to give up running back. And running back I chased. That's why I took Algier late. I'm chasing these potential injuries, other running backs. I kind of almost did an RB0, but even so, doing this hybrid RB0, I still start with Kamara and Connor. Could I lose both of them to age and injury? Absolutely, but I think my team's built to withstand that.
Let's get to Erickson's selections here. It's going to be May. Andrew, your roster is Drake May, followed by Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs. Wow. I mean, that's an incredible 1-2 pairing. Like, this is the way to do it, folks. If you are going to pass on QB early, Bijan Gibbs in a half especially, that's tremendous. Yeah. The wide receiver room, it's going to suffer. Something's going to suffer in Superflex. It's somewhere, probably. Harrison, Waddle, Odunze. So question marks there. None of those guys are a true number 1 yet. I think going into this, could they finish? Could Waddle finish as a 1? Sure. Harrison, sure. Odunze, it's possible. But on paper, you still got to get there. Kittle, then RJ Harvey at the flex, at the super flex, CJ Stroud, then Geno, Juwan Jennings, Keon Coleman, Ray Davis, Will Shipley, Erickson. Discuss your roster and any insights you want to share with the rest of the team.
I think that I did the right approach at the beginning where I didn't feel like I needed to reach on an inferior quarterback in round 1 and not even in round 2. Just hit the best at the positions. And if you're in a full PPR, I think it works even better because Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs are catching passes out of the backfield. Well, it helps close the gap on quarterbacks because quarterbacks don't benefit if it's PPR. They benefit if it's half PPR because they score that many more points than the rest of the running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. And if anything, I'm almost upset about myself for taking Drake May and CJ Stroud, knowing that I was able to get Geno Smith, who I talked about at the end, as a round 12 guy that I would feel fine if I had to start Geno Smith week 1 as my stability at my quarterback 2 slot. So if I had not taken Stroud and instead drafted another running back, another Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, and then added another receiver into that, I might have liked my team even more. So I think I would say if you're trying to build a super team in Superflex, I think it's worth it to practice going a little risky and punting off the quarterback position, seeing if you can kind of figure out with my second quarterback, can I get someone that is solid really later on, and then look at my team and be like, oh my God, I have Gibbs and Bijan Robinson. Like building a team that someone asks you, wait, how did you get this team? That's what I always try to think about when you're trying to think, how can I finish in the very, very tippy top? Build a team that someone will ask you, wait, how is this even possible?
I'll answer that question for you in just a second after Fitz runs through his team because I'm at the tippy top. Fitz, let's discuss your selection here. God, this is fun. It is alone though, sometimes being at the top. Fitzy, let's talk about your roster, the insights that we can get away from it. Jordan Love, Joe Mixon, Caleb Johnson, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and Ladd McConkey. Wow, Fitz. I mean, I don't know. I think this is good enough for third place at least. Travis Kelce, look, I think that's a make or break pick. I think you might agree there. If you have another year of decline potentially, what does that look like? Ricky Pearsall, Tua Tagovailoa, again, there's risk there, but you backed it up with Penix. Really solid job there as always. Marvin Mims, Eckler, Roshan Johnson, Jaden Blue. So Fitzy, this team is built on wide receivers and trying to make sure that you're getting enough productivity from your RBs and your QBs to keep pace. What do you think?
Yeah, that's the question. Will this team get enough productivity from the quarterbacks and the running backs? And I don't know is the answer to that. But at least I have a couple of options for those two spots, the QB and the super flex spot. Since I have a 3-man rotation I can throw in with Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa, and Michael Penix Jr., I'm looking at the analysis, the great analysis in the Fantasy Pros. We have these fantastic tools that you can like go through everything and look at what might have been different maneuvers. And I agree that I could have done a much better job if I had waited even longer for that second quarterback. I could have had the Kenneth Walker, Geno Smith combination rather than Tua and Jaden Blue. And, I think that's a major upgrade I could have had at running back for, a pretty negligible decrease in quarterback value. Wish I had done that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Fitz. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. I wish I had done that, but I guess like the key to this team would probably be more running back than quarterback and just getting like decent value out of Joe Mixon, Caleb Johnson, and then my assortment of Jaden Blue, Austin Eckler, and Roshan Johnson, because right now I am ranked 12th at the running back position of the teams in this draft.
Okay. Well, I mean, you knew that was going to be the rougher spot. You kind of discussed, during the draft that like, hey, I had to sacrifice somewhere if I'm going to start with those big wide receivers. And to the point you were making too, that the nice thing about the software is if you don't like the way the draft looks, you can back your picks out and make some other ones and take a look at your roster. That's what's so great about the Fantasy Pros tools here and Draft Wizard specifically. So let's take a look at this last roster to talk about, the A+ one, or as I like to call it, the Ravens and the Vikings. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams, Brian Thomas Jr., Xavier Worthy, Jerry Jeudy, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, JJ McCarthy. I wasn't kidding. I told you, it's the Ravens and it's the Vikings. Then you got Cam Ward, Chris Godwin, somehow made it to the bench. He got pushed on the bench there. Jordan Mason, Emeka Egbuka, and Jack Besh. So I would go to war with this, but I want to know what you all think. Drop your comments below. Which of our four rosters do you like the most? Drop your comments and subscribe to the Fantasy Pros channel. We're trying to get to 300,000 this year, and you might just win yourself a George Pickens jersey from pristineauction.com. And hey, while you're at it, you might as well run some drafts of your own. Download Draft Wizard today or go to fantasypros.com/draftwizard and get your mock draft on. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Erickson, Fitzy, and Jake Ciely, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Happy drafting.